The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. Well, let's see. How much do I need to talk about the Patriots winning the Super Bowl? I think the audience has been very, very clear. Not at all. So I won't. I'll just say very, very interesting game. Lowest scoring Super Bowl in history, I believe. Had a great time watching it. Patriots win. Now we can all move on to all sorts of other stuff, including that wacky doctor, Ronny Jackson, has been appointed to be his Donald Trump's assistant and chief medical advisor. So this is the guy, if you remember back at this point, I don't even know if it's been a year or longer than that. Just time is in a very strange vortex. But Dr. Ronny Jackson's the guy who claimed that Trump is, if I recall correctly, 6'3" and 239 pounds. Of course, neither of which I believe is accurate, and we don't really care about how tall our president is beyond the fact that if we're being lied to maintain some kind of public facade about his health and physical status, then we do care about it. And there is every indication that Dr. Ronny Jackson was at least complicit in some way in furthering that false narrative. Also accused of distributing medications to people on Air Force One, people who had not been evaluated or received proper prescriptions. So it's sort of the perfect guy, actually, for Donald Trump to be hiring. And he is indeed hiring Ronny Jackson to be his assistant and chief medical advisor. This is also, in addition to this job designation, Trump has renominated him for a second star after the nomination was put on hold last year, because, again, he is a member of the military. And it was put on hold when Trump briefly nominated Ronny Jackson to head up Veterans Affairs. And, of course, as we know, that devolved into the sort of sideshows that many Trump nominations devolve into, and that didn't happen. So this is one of those situations where is Trump just dumb, or is he going towards the controversy, right? I mean, there's not really any particular reason why this is the guy that needs to be Trump's chief medical advisor. Trump's health is a mess. The guy is constantly eating fast food. He's obese. He doesn't exercise. And I don't know if putting in place a guy who is enabling that behavior by lying for Trump about his height and weight is the right thing. But you know what? Ultimately, it's Trump's decision at a personal level. But then we get to, this is a guy mired in all sorts of controversy and who has lost significant credibility within the medical community for the actions that he took. Is it sort of like an FU to people that Trump's going to nominate whoever he wants to in that sort of Trumpian way? And I don't know the answer. I don't know why this guy is getting nominated, but we know that Trump likes to feel as though he won. And even though the Veterans Affairs nomination failed and Ronny Jackson was disgraced in many ways, if Trump just installs him in this way, maybe he feels like he won. I don't know. My only question to you is, how much should we really care about this? Does this really have any impact beyond just how it's going to impact Trump's medical care that he receives? Is there more to it, or should we just let it be what it is? Going from a story about one job, Dr. Ronny Jackson, to a story about a lot of jobs, there's yet another new report about how damaging is automation going to be to employment in general. And there has actually been a sort of contrarian movement. So, okay, going back a long time, we had basically a situation where new technology would come forward. It would destroy some jobs, but it would always create more jobs. So, for example, automobiles eliminated jobs of people who drove horse buggies, but they created all sorts of new jobs by virtue of accelerating communication between cities and towns and all of this other stuff. Okay. So as we started getting closer and closer to what we are now starting to actually experience, which is technological automation, jobs being replaced by machines, a new paradigm sort of rose, which said it is no longer going to be the case that more jobs will be created than destroyed by technology. Technology is now becoming such that more jobs will go away than the number that will be created by automation. And that was sort of pretty widely accepted for a period of time. Then a contrarian movement came forward and said, it's actually not going to be that bad. Yeah, automation will eliminate some jobs, but it's not clear that in the net it's going to be this huge job destroyer. And there have been exaggerated reports about how damaging it's going to be. So now we're actually starting to get more serious reports and analyses about this, including one from McKinsey Global Institute, which says that by 2030, 800 million jobs are expected to be lost due to automation and robotic labor. That's like 10 years, right? So that means that someone who is currently entering high school, by the time they graduate college or a year or so thereafter, right, roughly, there will be 800 million fewer jobs in the job market into which they will be entering. The report says that in 2018, machines did about 29% of work. Now, I don't know if that's measured as far as time or productivity, like output. Not exactly sure about that. But that number, 29% in 2018, is expected to be 42% in 2022, 52% by 2025, and that by 2030, 800 million jobs will be lost. So here's my view on this, because I think a lot of the debate is around the wrong issue. Okay, a lot of the debate is exactly how many jobs will be lost and what will be the net effect of jobs lost versus jobs created, because this automation technology, in addition to clearly destroying some jobs, is going to create some jobs as well. The question is, what's the net effect going to be? I actually think it's the wrong debate to be having around exactly what that number is, because if you grant that it's going to be significant, you no longer need to focus on exactly what the number is going to be. The focus instead needs to be on the relationship between humans and work, because we are mostly in a paradigm right now, with the exception of some countries that have different systems. We're basically in a paradigm where the relationship of humans to the economy is basically you have to work a full-time job in order to support yourself and your family. Okay. There are some part-time jobs that can pay really, really well. There are people who don't need to work because of family money or because they had a successful venture and now they're sort of out of that system, right? There's always exceptions. But the standard paradigm is full-time work, 40-hour work week in exchange for, you're selling your labor in exchange for enough resources to sort of live what we would call a Western globalized life, or apply whatever term you want. I think most of us know what I mean. That's really the paradigm that needs to be examined, because if there's going to be a slight net loss of jobs due to automation or a huge net loss, the population keeps increasing, and it's more or less still the problem over the next 30 to 40 years. Just a question of how quickly does it become a problem for how many people. So the question of utmost importance, and I've been pushing this on the show for a long time, is how are we going to reevaluate what our relationship needs to be to work in the economy? Can we start to step away from an economy where you have to essentially, you're going to earn in somewhat in proportion to the specific number of dollars of productivity that can be attributed to your job, which makes things like art and education, I've argued, is at a huge deficit when it comes to this, because when you think about an educator, they sort of have a piece of ownership of the success of every single one of their students, but that doesn't really seem to be accounted for by the economic system that we have. So the real question is going to be, are we ready as humans to rethink the relationship that we have to work? And are we ready to say it's not about socialists and communists and capitalists, but it's about we are advanced enough as a species, as Homo sapiens at this point, where we don't even have to argue about the morality of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and working a full-time job or all that other stuff. we can actually have a conversation now about what is most beneficial for individuals and for society with regard to, do we need to be working a 40-hour work week if there are other ways in which we can contribute to society less traditionally, so to speak? That's the conversation. So whether you believe the McKinsey report about 800 million jobs, or you believe some other report, or you're just not sure, when are we going to have that conversation? And it could be a while, because politicians aren't really incentivized to have that conversation, because it's sort of an admission that they're not going to, quote, fix it. So this is why I've talked about so many times, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump would talk about who's going to bring back the manufacturing jobs and where have the jobs gone and which policy is going to do it and buy American and build American and all this other stuff. There is a sort of game theory scenario where neither of them should have or found it advantageous to say, hey, you know what? The other candidate is not telling you the truth. A lot of these jobs simply don't exist, and more of them are going to be destroyed, because the first candidate who says that will be attacked by the other one as having admitted defeat, as having conceded that they're not going to bring the jobs back, even though obviously neither of them was ever going to bring the jobs back. And obviously we are seeing that today. Let me know your thoughts as to where you are on the net effect of technological unemployment and automation unemployment. Pat's on vacation this week, but I'm here. Thanks to everybody who took advantage of the David Pakman Show birthday membership special over the weekend. Yes, it was also my birthday over the weekend. Nothing else really to say about that. I hate my birthday, and that's basically it. It's been that way since, I think, when I turned 25. I was kind of like, yeah, this is not interesting anymore. This is not like when I was a kid, where it was, oh, at 16 I can get my permit, and at 18 I can go to, where are you allowed to go at 18? I don't even know. At 21 you can then buy alcohol and all of that stuff. It's just not really that fun anymore. And my friends over the weekend, who are a few years older, were saying it gets even worse. So that's something to look forward to. New show, new bonus show tomorrow, a whole week of shows, and next week is the normal schedule. We're here with just full normal weeks for a while, and that's a good thing.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.